Hello and welcome to another WeAreDevelopers Live. It's Wednesday again. We actually are in our places and we're getting ready to talk about some resources and these kind of things. Tomorrow I'll be off in Berlin here for the Beyond Tellerrand conference, which is one of my favorite conferences of all time. Normally it's in Düsseldorf, but this time it's in Berlin as well. And it's going to be the last one in Berlin. So if you are in Berlin and you want to get a great conference to attend, that's your last minute call to do that. I'll be there. Benjamin will be there from WeAreDevelopers. So if you want to talk to us about becoming a writer for us, or if you want to talk about becoming a speaker at our events, or if you want to give us free drinks, then we're basically going to be around. How are you doing, Daniel?
I'm all right. Yeah. I'm a bit jealous of that because I've heard a lot about the conference. Every time it's come around, I know you mention it, and yeah, a bit jealous. So that sounds good. Sounds pretty exciting. But other than that, I'm all right. I'm pretty good here. Got lots of things, lots of bits of content kind of flying out this week. So more, including this today. So yeah, trying to get through as much of that as I can this week.
So your car gave you troubles this morning, didn't it?
Do you know what, Chris? I was speaking to yes, it did. You know, it's giving me trouble with my clutch. But when you speak to a mechanic, the amount of it that now is software and is a computer, even in a car like mine, it's not fancy. Okay, I'm not driving a Tesla or anything, but you know, the amount of it that they say, it's okay, we'll plug it into the computer, and they sort of do a diagnostic now, you know, where the software tells them what's wrong with the software. So it's not just the world of software where AI is replacing us. Maybe it's happening to mechanics as well, but yeah. Very, very annoying.
Years ago, I wrote an article about like how software developers should not be like mechanics, because if you normally go and you get your car repaired back then, they would open the engine compartment, look at it, and say like, "Oh, who was that last guy that worked on that one? He must have been a complete tool." And like they always badmouth people before them. And I said, like, that's one thing we should never do as software developers, because you don't know why it was the way it was. Maybe they didn't have the right tools at the time. Maybe they had to repair it somewhere in the rain on the motorway. Like, you know, there's always this like trying to impress people by making other people look bad is really the cheapest way of doing it. And in software, you sometimes realize that when you go back in version controlling, that it was you 2 months ago that made that mistake. And you're actually ranting about the wrong person.
Do you know what? That's such a good point, because I think every single one of us has done it, where we've opened up a project that's like probably not as long ago as we like to think. You know, we think it's like years ago, and then you open it up and you think, oh, who wrote this? Or even when you know it's yourself, you go, I would have never done it like that. So it's funny that we don't then give the same, like you're saying, the same kind of forgiveness, I suppose, when somebody else has done something in a way that you go, it's a bit weird, because like you said, if you spoke to them, they might actually give you a really good justification, and then you're wrong, but you just assume that you're not. You know?
Yeah, we all make mistakes, and I think it's a very important thing to share that information as well. Like, I mean, the other thing that went live this week was my All Things Open keynote is now on YouTube, and we just shared it on social media as well. And I had lots of fun doing that one. That was the story about the submarine that sunk because somebody flushed the toilet. So there's a lot of interesting little details in that one. So that's another thing to look out for. Next week, we're going to start selling tickets for the US event. So September, we're going to be in San Jose in California. So we're looking for speakers. We're looking for exhibitors. We're looking for people to help us with the money side of things, because it's super expensive over there. And yeah, hopefully you will see on Monday then already the first speakers announced, and the tickets available as well. That's also going to be part of the newsletter. But that's enough of internal stuff, I think. Let's get our guest in for today. We've got Astha Yadav with us. And you are from Algorand Foundation. So tell us more about you. Where are you from? Where do you live? What do you do for Algorand?
Oh, yeah, sure. So, hi everyone. I'm Astha Yadav, and I'm natively from India, but from past few months, I've been living in Singapore. So, I'm working at Algorand Foundation. So, for people who are like new to Algorand Foundation, so it's a non-profit organization which is like dedicated to growing Algorand ecosystem. So, we support like development of projects and applications. And beneath it, Algorand is basically a Layer 1 blockchain, which is working on pure proof of like stake consensus, and we depend on speed and finality. So mainly like the transactions are confirmed within seconds. There are no forks. There are like extremely low fees. So at Algorand Foundation, I'm working in developer relations team. So which means that I'm trying to help people to lower the barrier of entry so that they don't like get frustrated when they are building. And I have been a developer myself. So I started my journey like 6.5 years ago as a developer, as a blockchain developer, back then when it wasn't that common in India. And then I worked at a supply chain firm called as Robert Bosch. I worked there for a few years, and then I moved to a bank in Singapore at that time. So that was called as like OCBC Bank. Over there, also we were working entirely on blockchain. We were working with people, for example, fractionalizing gold and other kind of like assets. And then I have moved to Algorand, which I feel like pretty positive about. So I would say like when I joined that time, we came up with smart contracts that are written in Python, and now you can also write smart contracts in TypeScript, which means that initially, like for Web3 people and even for Web2 people, so you had to like learn specialized languages for different kinds of blockchains. So that was kind of a friction that I used to feel that okay, if I have to switch from one chain to another, I have to learn a completely new language. But then when Algorand came up with this concept that even like high level languages can be boiled down and can be used in a constrained environment, so that like blockchain can also like understand the underneath, our virtual machine can also understand. So that was something that was pretty exciting for me.
Yeah, we had colleagues of yours on the show before, Brian Whippo, and he also gave a great talk at our Congress about the 402 payment required was the title. And I love
Yeah.
that they just hijacked an unused HTTP code that was there and actually now want to make it do something useful because the W3C defined it as like in the future it might do something. And it's great that a foundation is actually doing that. So do you have day-to-day dealings with Brian and others, or how is it? How do you work? Are you distributed? Well, obviously, but how distributed are you, and how does it time-wise work for you?
Oh yeah, so we are completely remote. So our time zones are actually like not at all overlapping. So it's like 12-hour difference for maximum colleagues. So Brian, as you mentioned, he's the head of DevRel, so he's my manager. And I think Marco also has been to this show. And we all were there at WAD in Berlin in July. So we had a lot of like talks over there. We also gave workshops. So there were two workshops, one in Python, one in TypeScript at that time. And the topic that Brian talked about was 402, as you mentioned, and that was like a really good concept. So today I would be talking about that as well, because I think like many people should know about it, and as many people know about it, they'll start to adopt, because I feel that like that is like the next big thing that's coming in blockchain world and in general as well in payments.
Cool. Okay, then let's take a look at some resources that we collected and see how far we go with those. And you can, of course, would be interesting to see what your points on those are as well. So here's what we chatted about. We're going to chat about this time. First of all, we want to thank actually our colleagues here at GitLab as well, because there's a conference coming up on the 11th of November in London. And if you're lucky enough, also on the 13th of November in Paris. There's a Eurostar between the two, so you can actually do both if you want to. It's going to be called the Epic Conference, and it's talking about DevSecOps. So would be interesting if you're interested in that. We're also going to have GitLab soon in a coffee with developers to talk about more about the things that they do closer to the date, I think. And that's something that's happening there. You cannot click the register now link because links are dead. and banners are kind of outdated. But just a matter of like telling you about that conference might be another thing that you want to go to after you've been to Beyond Tellerrand tomorrow to meet us and give us free drinks, as we said before. So first thing first, 1 in 5 security breaches is breaches now thought to be caused by AI written code. What is it with those headlines that want to make a bold statement and then just beat around the bush? It's just like, yeah, it's. I guess AI code is still filled with vulnerabilities, comma, experts warn. That's another thing that I hate. That you have this preposition at the end of the sentence that basically like, oh, we said something and experts, we don't even prove who it is, just warn us about it. But the point, I think, is very obvious. There's a lot of stuff out there that basically gets released far too quickly without any testing properly. And yeah, there is a lot of security breaches coming out because outdated things get assigned to you by the LLM. And people don't put the right security practices in their environments. I recorded a podcast, Coffee with Developers yesterday with Centavo, who actually a company that do like a Git interface or a Git client, and they have a lot of stuff in that podcast about how to secure your environments and to avoid that. But I mean, the question is like now, how long are these vulnerabilities then live? Because in the past, when you wrote it by hand, it was live for a month. With vibe coding and environments, it probably is gone the next day. But is it really gone? So what do you think, like in terms of security-wise, what is the idea of AI? Are we endangered right now because we move too fast, or is it something that just needs to find its balance?
Yeah, so I feel like there is a gap between the code that is generated and production level, like production grade code. So that is still there. So when it comes to AI, for example, in hackathons also we see that because like AI does not have the full context, they don't have that what all security measurements should be taken, what are the practices, what is the business logic. They don't have like an overall context. So they just generate some amount of like code that would work, might have like some bugs in it that can be fixed. But overall, when it comes to when we need to go to production, then at that time we need to have like some sort of security audits. We need to ensure more whether that can actually go to production or not. Because it might have some sort of like vulnerabilities, or even it might not take into account some of the edge cases, because the overall architecture is not there for AI.
It may also be because the speed is so high that we actually just get more reports about vulnerabilities that took ages to be found in the past when we didn't release every day, kind of thing. That might be a thing. It's the same with the news when people say like, "Oh, crime is on the rise," and actually it's on the decline worldwide. If you look at it, it's just the news is faster that we actually hear about it every 2 seconds, and in the past we didn't hear about all the crime that was happening because we weren't as connected and there was not directly live filming people in the street showing it, kind of thing. So there might be a numbers thing here that is inflated because of it. But it's interesting that some of the bits that we do right there, I mean, this was interesting as well, that there's AI-powered web browsers, the ones that serve for you, that actually execute code for you in the background. There's more and more things coming in right now that actually attack these browsers themselves directly. And I find that interesting as a new way of accessing a browser. In the past, we used XSS, we used SQL injection, we had malformed URLs, malformed images, all kind of stuff. But now you can actually hide prompts in images, and then an AI browser would execute those.
Yeah, and that's so scary.
Scary and interesting, I think.
That's a perfect description, Chris. I think scary and interesting. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of, because you go, oh, wow, that's really clever, but also terrifying. I mean, it's inevitable as well, right? I think that we're seeing so many of these AI browsers pop up. We're seeing browsers adapt, like I'm currently using Arc, but as you said, Chris, that's kind of been sunset because they've now got their AI version instead. And this kind of inertia, like wanting to move so fast. You know, it's just inevitable, isn't it? Because we take these tools on. I'm a sucker for it. If it's a nice looking tool and it's new, I just want to give it a go, and that could be exactly all they need, you know, to get somebody on board. Yeah.
I find myself slowing down over the years. I always wanted to have the newest phone. I wanted to have the newest browser. I want to try something new. And after a while, you find your spot where you're like, yeah, VS Code is good enough. And I take the browser that comes with the operating system, and I'm actually good with that, because I'm getting kind of tired of like having half finished things. I used to do like nightly browsers and like previews and these kind of things to see the functionality that's coming around the corner. But it was always detrimental to my own experience. And I often lost bookmarks, I lost history kind of stuff. And it just felt, yeah, what do I gain from that as well? Talking of which, it's interesting that these browsers are actually finding ways to go past, okay, close window, no. Okay. How AI browsers sneak past blockers and paywalls. So, I mean, when I'm collecting things for this show and also for the newsletter, I sometimes go through archive.ph or the HTTP archive to show the paywalled page, because I just want to show you the article. I don't want to send my readers of my newsletter to a subscription for the New York Times for one article, and it's sometimes not possible to do a guest post. But it seems like those browsers do all kind of weird stuff to actually go past these paywalls and things. And I think extensions sell themselves with that functionality. But it's interesting to see that the blocker and paywall war, or like arms race, seems to be still on. So
do either of you use them? Do you use ad blockers, or do you know, either of you, do you have it sort of in your browser like Tor or something like that, you know?
How about you, Astha?
So I would say just one thing, like when it comes to payments, and because these kind of browsers can also move past, for example, if we connect our wallet. So I just make sure that I don't connect my wallet. I don't make any payments for in in such kind of browsers, because I'm like, let it mature to a level. We should first see how much is being done and if there are any vulnerabilities or not, and then only I'm like, okay, then I'll connect my wallet and I'll do my transactions.
That's actually a good point. If you had your wallet connected to an AI browser and you go to a website that has a paywall, it probably will subscribe you to it and pay the money without you actually interacting with it.
Yeah, that's quite scary, actually, isn't it?
There's our business model. Excellent. Let's do that. So,
it's a matter of time. It's bound to happen. I mean, I saw a prank, right, that somebody was doing where they had the noise of like a transaction happening on their phone, and they would go up to people in like a supermarket and they would say, "Could I have £15?" And then the people were like, "No," and then they would hold their phone near their phone and play the little beep beep and go, "Thanks very much," and then see the person kind of being like freaking out, you know, because they were worried, like, "Oh, that's contactless and you've taken my money." If it's that easy, you know, it kind of shows that it's already something we think about happening, these payments we don't want to make, but the technology does anyway. So I don't know. I don't think it's that crazy, Chris.
I mean, I've got a wallet that has an RFID blocker in it. And basically in the past, I had like on my passport, I had like a passport case as well, where you can't read the passport. I mean, on your phone, it wouldn't make any sense because then you can't pay with it. But like, I think with like drive-by credit card, like €2, €4 things, that has happened in the past. I don't know how much that changed of credit cards nowadays, but the RFID blockers embedded into wallets in physical wallets has been a thing for quite a while. But yeah, it's an interesting one that these browsers are actually doing sneaky things for you without actually knowing, without actually telling it. And that might be an interesting thing, what that means for like banks and not banks, but like newspapers, if they start blocking those browsers in the future because of that. So that would be a fascinating thing. And when you said like, do you use a blocker? I basically use this one here, basically because it gets rid of a lot of stuff. But normally I do what's in the browser itself. But I also use a VPN most of the time. That's the other thing that I think is very important to consider. And especially I'm traveling a lot, so I want to watch like German programming, or I don't. My partner wants to watch German programming when we're somewhere else. So that's a thing. How is it in Singapore? Is it even like very possible to do, seeing it's a very strict country? Is there any laws against like ad blockers and blockers and stuff?
I mean, I'm not aware of like laws against it, but I've seen like it's very often that I see that people even leave their phones open and they go around, they shop and they come back. So it's pretty
Wow.
safe when it comes to like physical things, and there is almost like no crime, I would say. So I can go out like late at night, I see people like running, and in general, no one cheats over here because the laws are so strict that even if you uh, bypass like any traffic signal, you'll have to pay a lump sum like amount of money. But when it comes to like laws regarding it, I would guess I would assume that there would be laws against it, because we don't get any spam calls, we don't like get anything when people would try to scam us.
Mhm. If we should send you chewing gum, just blink twice, okay?
Yeah, chewing gum is banned.
Cool. Now, everybody talks about agents, and we should have somebody on the show who builds agents right now, because the OpenAI co-founder, Andrew Karpathy, who's also the guy that did like the vibe coding thing, is saying AI agents are still 10 years away. I guess it's the definition of an agent, and that's where it gets tricky, because a lot of people like, to me, an agent is just an instruction that does something on its own. Basically, it pulls in other resources that it needs. When you do it on demand, you just give it the task, and then it actually finds a way to actually fulfill that task, and not just an instruction that is like a question and gets an answer. But I think what he means is like fully autonomous agents, or I don't know what actually he means. But it's interesting that some people basically say like everything is an agent already, and other people say it's 10 years away. So the truth is probably somewhere in between.
Did you see this interview going around much? Because I think what's interesting about this, Chris, is that the things that he said that were a little bit more negative, like this, and I say negative as in if you're really excited about AI in the sense of like, you know, get out of the way, regulation, like don't slow us down, come on, we're, you know, move fast, break things, all of that, then he's saying things that actually burst your bubble. Bubble, but it burst that bubble a little bit, because he's actually going, yeah, they're not that good really, and they're not going to be that good for quite a while. But none of that really made the headlines. It was like, let's kind of boost the exciting things, you know. So yeah, it's an interesting interview though. I'd recommend going and watching at least some clips, because he's not that high on it.
Cool. Also, a honeymoon of vibe coding seems to be over. Again, we've been talking about that before, but it's also interesting that like the chaos that ensued with it, and people are starting to actually look more into detail what it does for them. Again, it's a matter of like how you're set up. I guess Astha, in your environment, there's not much vibe coding going on, because a lot of security is basically the first bit to think about, right? Or how do you work? How does your team work? Basically, is there a lot of like AI aided development, or is it just full on generated by AI?
Oh, there is definitely AI aided coding and content generation and a lot of things that goes on. We also had our hackathon. So there was a hackathon that we did with Bolt. So that was kind of like the largest hackathon that Bolt .NET platform did. And over there, we had our own like track. But then we saw like a lot of people like vibe coding, and initially we had to like create our own like template so that people could just start using that template. And that time we discovered that these kind of platforms are really good when it comes to, or maybe like good to a level for creating POCs in front end, but when it comes to generating code related to your blockchain and connecting to it, it was lacking at that time, and that was like in June. And personally also, when I build like few projects, and even if I go to hackathons and I see people building projects, I see that people spend more time fixing it out, and like fixing all the bugs and making it to a level that they want, than actually like giving the prompts and like generating the whole code. So that's, and sometimes they come to us and they are like, okay, it was better if we did it ourselves. But the pace at which it has evolved. I feel that like people are really embracing it, not to the level that that we were discussing, that 10 years. I feel it would be lesser than that, for the maturity to come.
Hmm. I mean, this also ties into that article that vibe coded PR slop is not welcomed. A lot of people who maintain software get a lot of PRs generated by automated systems that basically lack the most basic ways a PR is actually merged into the project. When I talked yesterday with the person from Centavo, he said like there's a whole thing about like work paths that you can use, or like temporary paths for that kind of stuff, rather than temporary branches as well, instead of just like trying to vibe code something and then hammer the maintainer of a project with a PR that's like 5,000 changes and 300 lines of code. There's a lot of like housekeeping in terms of contributing to projects that vibe coded code does not quite apply to. And it's an interesting challenge right now. What does that mean? Like in the past, we were happy about any contribution, but now there seems to be like a level of spam from generated code that we didn't see in open source before. And that's a big problem at the moment. So we'll see. That is fascinating as well. There's a security hole in Chromium browsers, which means every browser, I guess, nowadays, except for Firefox and Safari. And the thing that it does, it's actually using document.title, and there is no limit on that. So basically, you can store as much data as you want to on document.title, and they basically flush it, and that actually crashes the browser. In the past, we had the same with window.name that could keep up to 4 GB of JSON data in it. And now we have document title as well, and a big discussion if it's really a security blocker or something, or it's just a very cool thing to say. But it's still an interesting one that these basics of the web can always be like super easily abused. Apple today or yesterday released their App Store on the web as well for the first time. So there's now a web interface to the App Store. And because of misconfiguration, their whole source code is also on GitHub now of that App Store, which I don't think Apple wanted to do, I guess. But this is happening right now as well. So it's always quite fun to see that anything on the web that is writable can be abused to some degree. And thinking about flooding document title is quite a heavy, interesting thing to see.
Very simple as well. It feels like, sort of surprisingly simple. When you're saying something like that you can store. Where did you say you could store 4 GB of data? Was it in window?
Window.name. Basically, when you had several windows, when you had pop-up windows, you could give the window a name and access the pop-up window with that name. That's why window has a name option.
Wow. And it's so simple as well. You almost think that's I can't lie, I'm sort of impressed by the creativity of a lot of bad actors when I see things like that, because how long have we had the web, and how long has it taken us to kind of figure out that this is such a major problem? Is it new? Is this just popped up? Surely this has always been the case.
I guess back in the days, basically the machines weren't fast enough and there wasn't enough data to actually flood it with that amount of data. So basically nobody bothered to do that. And I think nowadays, now that you can script browsers and you can remote control them completely with an own interface, that gives a lot of opportunity for bad actors to actually just try random things out that you had to do by hand back then. Now, this is an interesting one as well, that type of not a number is not a number. And there's a huge long description about this. And this is always the bit when you show JavaScript to people and they're like, yeah, but that's also Java as well. So it's fascinating that these kind of, it's always easy to poke fun at, why is that in Polish? Okay. It's always easy to poke fun at languages that way. But I'm just like, why would you do not a number is not a number for starters,
It returns some really strange. I mean, there was one where it says, but if it's not a string, then return true, which it does, but then it's also a number, but it's still not a number. It's like it's cyclical logic. You just, the more I read, the more I'm confused because it contradicts the previous statement, It's quite philosophical.
Well, I think that's the thing. You learn programming in school, and then you actually start programming in real life, and you have to talk to compilers, and you find these kind of things. You're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Like another thing that I love to bits, what is AI world clocks. So these are basically clocks that are generated by AI of the current time using different models. And some of them are just basically it tells you like this is what the clock should look like. So there is this prompt that says create HTML CSS of an analog clock showing time, include numbers of numerals if you wish, and have a CSS animated second hand. Make it responsive and use a white background. Return only the HTML CSS code with no markdown formatting. And it's just like it's just so fun how many of them get it completely wrong.
Wow. Grok 4 just puts all the numbers at the top. Quite like that. There's something, I mean, it does really show you something, doesn't it, about like how good and bad it is at pretending it's clever. You know, like we use AI and we're look, I mean, that's so simple. I mean, I've got a 2-year-old downstairs. If I said draw a clock, she'd probably be as good as this, really. And we don't call her a genius, but we call AI a genius.
That is pretty bonkers. I mean, some of them do a good job. Like, yeah, this one is quite right. Kimi what K2, whoever that is, it must be like some Chinese model that I don't know about.
None of them have got the numbers though. They've all, as in, they don't keep the number, you know, facing upright. They're all sort of rotating around with the clock. Again, something pretty simple, right?
Yeah, but then again, this is off the 2 here. So it seems like even there they're doing rounding where they shouldn't be doing rounding. So I'm not sure. Another interesting one was the LinkedIn wisdom generator that basically generates profound wisdom that means nothing, stops scaling productivity and starts scaling scalability. Your framework is only as strong as your value. The secret to deliverables is disrupting transformation before streamlining a solution. There's so many wonderful things in there. Now, Asta, you are in the world of blockchains and these kind of things. That used to be like almost comically padded with like messages like that. Okay, we lost Asta, so let's hope she'll be back.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Let's take a look at some tools in between. This one I really liked. It's a heat map diff viewer for code reviews that basically does security problems. It shows in different colors, but it also shows like how many part of what part of the code was edited, how many times by whom, and these kind of things. So instead of just giving you a diff of the code, it goes for like different. It has a lot more in-depth functionality that way. And I found that a really interesting approach because everybody just copies what has been done forever to say like this is the thing that we do. But that's pretty cool.
Yeah. No, it's great. I think that's also just anything like that makes it visual for me is really useful because yes, we can just go and compare diffs, but anything that adds that visual element is always good, I think.
So did you try to unmute your microphone and left the room instead? Was that the case, Asta?
No, I'm so sorry. My internet, due to some weird reason, just turned off on its own. So I had to turn it on.
It's amazing. As soon as you don't use it, it's totally fine and really fast. As soon as you have to use it, computers know. They can smell fear, I think.
Yeah, and it works fine with all the meetings that I have, but whenever I have to, for example, present or be at some live event, it always is the case that something is bound to happen.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people, when we do these shows, forget also to turn off their like Dropbox or OneDrive or these kind of things, and they don't do any backups when you actually don't use your computer. They just do them as soon as you start interacting with something else. So it seems like that's a really bizarre thing to have as well. Now, this is an interesting one as well, just a little tool that basically is an image search for AI-generated images. So actually, if you just need to have something and you don't want to burn another planet just to take the image, this might be a fun thing to try and just find AI-generated images with a license that you're allowed to use, and you don't have to actually generate them yourself. I think that's a really nice little resource because yeah, why would we need to generate that over and over and over again? But talking of which, there's the Gen AI image showdown, which I found interesting as well. I guess, Dan, that's more your environment again as well. So can you tell us what they found and what they did there? And I'm assuming you looked at it.
Yeah, I did take a look at it. It's so essentially they give them like a prompt and just say, imagine this, and then it's just an easy way of comparing the different models and their output. And I think, when you do take a look at them, the prompt they give them is very specific and a little bit strange. It's 2 Prussian soldiers wearing spiked helmets, facing each other, playing a game of ring toss, attempting to toss metal rings over a spike on the person's helmet. So really strange, something that's probably not been generated before by that model. And it's just the amount of kind of variety, I suppose, in terms of what it returns. But it also showed something interesting, which is that this art style, if you scroll down, the OpenAI 4.0 model, this art style, this kind of looking hand-drawn, I see it absolutely everywhere. And it seems like now it's because it's the OpenAI standard default style that it just uses. I don't know, but it's just strange that it hasn't told it.
I'm so done with it. I'm so done with that style as well. Like, how about you, Astha? I mean, when you look around, like, there's so many blog posts that have exactly that kind of style, and I don't know, it feels cheap.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes like you're also able to make out that, okay, which particular, prompt has been used and which platform has been used. So
Surprising.
yeah, it is a little bit like, and even not just over here, like even if there are like some memes created and that, okay, this is AI created content that's out there.
Yeah, I mean, as a platform, how do you do it? Like, I mean, there is blockchain solutions for watermarking images and saying like, okay, this has been AI generated, but just resizing it a few pixels would be enough to actually break that watermark kind of thing. So I think that's the bigger problem. Like, how do you stop your environments being flooded? I love that this one is a piercing ring with another ring on top of it. And they're actually wearing British uniforms.
Yeah. The gaps that it fills in are so strange, aren't they? The way that the AI kind of, or the LLM fills in these gaps with, and it's like, it tells you a little bit about what that data was that it was trained on. And in fact, on that one, Chris, if you scroll down, the OpenAI, I mean, that's what it gave you. So the others are these nice kind of 3D, there you go. Again, I go back to that. My 2-year-old could do that. So I don't know how smart these things are.
It looks like an SVG, like.
Yeah, definitely.
But I think it's pretty cool that people have started comparing all of these different models for the exact same prompt and then rating it that, okay, this one is the better one. So if, for example, people who are maybe not that much keen in comparing it, they can just come over here, they can just check it. And according to their use case, they can, use a particular subscription for a particular LLM.
That is pretty cool, I have to say.
Yeah.
I like that little dent here that it does that in the foot as well. Yeah,
That's
I love
true.
that it says to a star with 9 points and it gives you one with 8. Just like proper failed. But yeah, it's interesting to see that how different these things are. And yeah, so let's talk about a bit what you want to cover and what you are the expert in. When you sent me the links, the first thing I got stuck on was this Algorand. That sounds like a dystopian novel to me, or what is it?
Oh yeah. So maybe do we have the links as well, or I can also present?
Sure, yeah, I can start with the specifications.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So regarding the specifications, so this is a new thing that has come out because we saw that, okay, if, for example, people know, like initially we used to have developer documentation, which would go through that, okay, if, for example, you have to build applications, how you could do that. But then when it comes to people like researchers and people who want to understand how the protocol is designed for people like those, we came out with Algorand specifications, and this is a really good guide, and this is I would say, a complete guide regarding if, for example, there is BFT consensus, or if you want to understand how the nodes work, the overall architecture, how the consensus is working, everything in detail you could understand. And you don't need to be an expert level in understanding white papers. So there are like two different categories that has been created. One is the normative one is the non-normative one. So one is that okay, if you want to understand the numbers, the math behind it, this is how this would be done. And the other way is that for each and every decision that has been taken, why it has been taken, and how you could like understand in for example, an easier language. And then in these talks, there is one more interesting thing, that we have used AI in one section, which is like AI generated docs, but that's only for node implementation. And over there, we have mentioned that this is AI generated. And this is something that we are experimenting with, and we want to like understand how far like we could go and how like correct we are. So we initially used to have this our implementation written in Golang, but then after that we thought that okay, we need like some sort of docs which are updated and which have all the details listed down.
So you
So
create the docs from the code?
so some of the docs have been so only the node implementation, so that has been created. But apart from that, and that also has like few of the like README files. So it's not exactly like taken directly from code, but it's taken from like many different stuff. But apart from that, all of that is being written by our engineers at the foundation. So it's their hard work that they have done.
So that's people in the foundation and outside contributors?
In the foundation is
Yeah.
as far as I know. So the engineers that are working on different stuff, so they have made this.
Cool. And I mean, how much of when you say you generated parts of it with API, how much of cleanup was involved? Because I mean, whenever I let machines write stuff for me, I'm like, okay, that sounds good, but I delete half of it again.
I think they used Deep Wiki for that one, but I'm not really sure how much work went over there. So I need to check with them. But only a small portion of it was used. So only the node portion, but apart from that, there are like I think many different sections over here.
So is that what you use internally as well to when you start at the company, when you actually get onboarded? Is that what you read the first 3 weeks before you had your first meeting, or how does it work?
So when I joined the foundation, that time I went deep into the developer portal. So we have revamped it now, but initially that portal contained like few stuffs which aren't used anymore. So for example, PyTeal was used, and I went over there and then I started asking questions to people, and I was like, okay, how is this done and that done? And I'm like so confused. And then people were like, oh, we don't use this particular language anymore. And then we realized, okay, there needs to be a lot of stuff that has to be done. But even today, if we use LLMs, we have to, if for example, I say that, okay, on Algorand, I want to write so and so contract. So for example, if I want to write a voting contract or an auction contract, so then it would generate all that in a previous smart contract language that we don't use. So even when we go and we ask people that, okay, what are you building? And they are like, oh, we are using Python. Then we are like, oh, you are using all of these LLMs for sure.
Mhm. Well, sell it to us in terms of like, if I want to get started in the world that you're in, like, what are the things that made you go from normal development into the place that you are right now? What is the exciting part of the blockchain world that you're in and contracts world that you're in right now? And how does Algorand make it easier for people?
Oh, I would say that if, for example, if I'm a developer, if I want to enter into Algorand, the first thing that I would say is the ease of transformation. So, for example, we have AlgoKit, which is a developer toolkit wherein you get everything from scratch. So, for example, if you just write, okay, you have installed AlgoKit and you're like AlgoKit in it. So, it will ask you questions, okay, how do you want to build it? Which languages do you want to use? Do you want all the dependencies to be installed or not? Do you want a Git version or not? It will ask you everything. Then it will give you a whole like boilerplate. It will also give you the first example. It will also also give you the front end connected to it. And then you can play around first, and then you can explore that, okay, this particular like example I've already tried. There are set of templates as well that people can refer to. And we have like all the source codes, and they're like we have allocate like examples gallery that people can refer to, so they can check, okay, this particular example suits us well, so they can take that example. They can also check our other like code examples, our full applications that we have built, and they can try it out. Then the other way that we were initially going to talk about Algorand. So if, for example, we are like that, okay, this sounds a little boring to us. We first want to like check out that, okay, which all tool sets are there, which all people are building on Algorand. So in that case, people can come over here, they can connect their wallet, they can opt in that, okay, they want to play, they want to get rewarded. So over here, this is, I guess, 13-week week they have like a different theme. And this week is on gaming. So we have like 3 of the ecosystem like projects, and then we help them understand that, okay, how different startups that are building on Algorand, how they are, how you can like understand Algorand, and they can try out these. They can also earn rewards, and every week I guess there is a lucky winner, and this is, I guess, the 7th week that's going on. So if you want to go via any fun way, then definitely you should check out Algorand.
Okay, cool. So that's a gamification kind of learning ground, so to say, a gamified learning ground.
Yeah, and we also have, apart from this, so if, for example, you are more of a person who wants to try out coding, and you are like that, okay, I want it in a guided way. So we also have tutorials inside our developer documentation. So you can just go to the tutorials. You'll get it on your IDE, and it will guide you that, okay, how basic stuff. So for example, if you're a Web 2 person and you want to understand the basics of accounts and how transactions are formed, so all of that would be done in a very guided way, and you can just run each and every code. You can understand that, okay, this is the theoretical part of it, and then you can move on to next chapters. So that's also one way of going about. And if, for example, you like that, okay, I see that these things are cool and I want to build something, so we also do have hackathons, and we have, I guess, a lot of hackathons going on. I think we completed the last one in London. So there were almost, I think, 6 or 7 hackathons that went, and the energy we saw over there was really amazing. Like we even saw people. So in Bangalore, in India, so we had a 24-hour hackathon, and people came. So we initially thought that, okay, like we'll limit it to 100 people, and we had like 400 people trying to sign in. So we were like, okay, we have limited to 100 people, and then 50 plus people came, and they were like, oh, I got my friend over here, and we have we have traveled for so long, please let us in. And there was a time wherein we didn't even have that many chairs to support people. So we were so much booked, and the amount of like people asking us questions, and they were like, we'll be up the whole night, and you'll see our code tomorrow. And there were really cool projects as well that people have built. So I guess there was one really interesting project wherein people like you could have a marketplace wherein people could give their internet bandwidth. So that project was called as Nothing, and you could like exchange it in return of algos. Then I think there was one more cool project wherein they were working on that, okay, if, for example, we want government schemes and all the other things, how can we do that? There was, I think in Berlin or in London, there was one project which was working on cookies and how you can, get money for, having all these cookies. And I think that there were really interesting projects. There was one wherein they had a video based. So, for example, if I have used, if I don't understand a lot of like DeFi terms, they would come on live stream, and they'll be like, okay, I want to, for example, lend, or I want to stake some money, and how can I do that? And they'll like tell you, they'll understand your text, your voice, and they'll like tell you that, okay, this is how you can do it. And they also were trying to integrate the payments part, but I'm not sure if they were able to do it completely. But that was still like a really good project, I would say, for the start.
It's interesting. That used to be, I mean, Experts Exchange and people like that tried to do that in the past, where you can buy like 5 minutes of Skype with an expert to explain stuff to you. And back then it kind of failed because of the monetization, because we didn't have wallets. We didn't have like payment, GPay or Apple Pay or something like that. It was too much of a drop-off thing. I just tried to connect my wallet, but it doesn't. It's weird. But yeah. Dan, you got excited when there were colors and animations, right? Like, what's your first take on Algorand?
Yeah, I'm such a sucker for this. I mean, I love the UI. I love it because it's like creative. It's like, it's kind of the nature of what you're trying to do, right? Get people to like experiment and kind of look at it differently. But I think also what I'm interested in with this is that what I liked about Algorand is when I first heard Brian Whippo talk, actually, and then I've heard it repeated from a few people at Algorand, and it's definitely something you're aware of, that that I quite like the fact, actually, that it feels like we're at a point, and maybe this is the starting point, where blockchain has gone from this thing that people don't really understand, and they don't see the kind of purpose for it. And like you're saying, Chris, maybe the infrastructure wasn't there where we could really, use it, because payments were kind of trickier. But now it feels like we're actually at the point where we've got good, kits like this, like AlgoKit, that's out there that developers can pick up and get started with it. And it's not so abstract. It's not like blockchain is this thing that nobody really understands. It's, oh, actually, there's, like you said, you gave an example of like an election or like an auction or things like that. It's like real uses. So I quite like this gamification. It's like getting you started. You're going to build something that's actually got a use and isn't this ethereal blockchainy thing that no one understands. So yeah, and I just love the UI, just to sum all that up as well. This it's working. It's getting me interested, because yeah, it looks great. It really does.
Thank you so much. I think the team has been working really hard on making everything possible, and coming up with a lot of like creative ideas. So yeah, definitely a good like shout out to them. And yeah, I mean, we understood this thing that we don't want to be boring and be like, okay, this is the way to do it, like go ahead and figure out yourself. So we also do have like workshops. We conduct it online, and we did it one in Sri Lanka as well. So that was also like a really good story, wherein we went to a university. So there was one person who was working with machine learning, and he was like trying to integrate blockchain with that, and he came up with a lot of questions. And then he was like, why don't you like come to my university if you have time? And then we planned it in a way that it coincided with other conferences as well. So we were at PyCon at that time, so we went from there directly, and that was a third event in Sri Lanka. And initially when we talked about blockchain, people did not understand it, so that was like a 2-day thing. And the second day we were like, okay, now we have told you a lot of things, and it might be overwhelming at this point of time, so why don't you think about why you want to use blockchain? And we created like small teams, and the way they came up with ideas like halal certifications, the problems that are there in Sri Lanka that they want to solve regarding road taxes and other things. And we were like stunned. We're like, oh, these are like really great ideas if people like start implementing it.
Yeah, that was always the fun about hackathons and hack days and open hack days, that people, you didn't give them like, I mean, when I always coach people on like, what should we do in a hack day? And I'm like, solve a problem that you have, And I think back in the days, it was great how many things came out of that one. I remember in England, we built fixmystreet.com back in a hackathon, which was like potholes in your road, and people took pictures of it and GPS data. And then we mapped it basically on England and says like, where are the worst potholes, and basically shaming the local cities into a competition to fix those things. So I love that kind of creativity when you get developers together with a few designers and a few like product people, and like those pure hackathons where it's just about churn out as much code as you can are kind of boring to me. I like the ones that come up with issues to solve. And I think especially in the world of blockchain, is like, what do you solve with it is still a question that a lot of people have. Because as soon as they start hear blockchain, they think Bitcoin and they think like pyramid schemes and don't like blockchain as a platform. Which brings me to the rest of the stuff that we have here. What is the Puya TS release?
Oh yeah, so Puya TS is basically, so the Puya is the compiler that is being used to convert like all the high level languages to something like to bytecode that the virtual machine would understand. So in the constrained environment, we can't use like certain stuff that we are able to compile when we use, for example, Python or TypeScript. So Puya TS is regarding TypeScript. So initially, the first iteration was Teal script, which so Teal is the assembly language that was used. So then we came up with Teal script, which was, and then we also had one more, which is TypeScript beta version. So now we want to migrate to TypeScript version 1.0. So this release has been done not like many days ago. I think it was end of October. And we also have like a migration guide for people. So for example, if people have already built on Algorand using these versions or these languages, so they can, come and check all these migration guides and they can upgrade to 1.0. So this is the guide that's there. And there are like a lot of details inside this if anyone wants to check it out. And if they have built, then this is a really good guide for them.
2 issues, not too much yet.
Oh yeah, yeah. You'll have to search for these docs, but there are other links as well. If you want, I can probably share that one as well.
Sure. So do you feel like that more people want the Python, more people want TypeScript? Do you have any data on that? Like what blockchain people are preferring?
So we have gone to both PyCon and JavaScript conferences throughout this year to understand whether people like Python more or TypeScript more. And like it can be my personal bias, but I feel like people like TypeScript more. And this is also like one of the reason is that when I see people building on other chains, so all these Web3 people, they do understand JavaScript to a level because, for example, when it comes to EVM world, so the integration that happens between blockchain and maybe like frontend, for example, that happens using, for example, Web3.js libraries or Ethers.js. So they understand JavaScript to a level, and for them to understand that, okay, in TypeScript, like we go there, we are like, okay, these are like few code snippets. What do you feel like? Are you able to like understand what's happening and what's not happening? And like during our booth, we also have like small quizzes wherein to get swags, they have to like answer that, okay, this is the correct answer for this. So I feel like people like TypeScript more, but I might be wrong. This is more of like a personal thing.
Cool. Now, the last 2 bits we had here is X42 and Intermezzo. I guess X42 is the payment standardization thing, but what is Intermezzo? That's again for Dan to do, isn't it?
Yeah. So X402, the one that Brian talked about in his talk at WAD. So just to give a little bit of context, so in 1990s, I think 1999, there was a specs that was written down for different kinds of status codes. So for example, for 200, for 500, etc. Then there was for 402 also. So this one is for payment. But the problem that happened was that people did not implement it in a way that it is being like used widely, or there is no like agnostic or open sourced way. There was L402 as well, but not that much. So then I think a little while ago, Coinbase came up with X402, which is basically like agnostic to any chain. You can use like any chain. And for example, if you want to use stable coins, you can use that. So it gives you 402 error. And for example, for agentic payments or for payments wherein like you don't want your intervention, you could use this particular implementation, and you could, for example, make all the payments. So from closed ecosystems wherein like if Apple has to make their own payment, they'll have to do it on their own or integrate like some other solution. Same for Google, same for other big names or maybe like startups as well. But now all of these things have started changing, and Algorand has also like raised a PR for like Coinbase repo, wherein we are also trying to have our version. So you just have to like raise a PR. You have to see whether it will be compatible or not. If, for example, like Algorand is a little different from other chains, so we also do see that okay, how we can make it agnostic to us as well. And once you do that, there is just a single API that you have to call, and all these payments can be done. So this is a pretty interesting concept, and for people who want to like go in depth, they should definitely check out Brian's video. And then for Intermezzo, so this is also a solution that recently came up. So that's being built by Algorand team, wherein, for example, if you want to abstract out complexities like key management and other things, like as for example, a platform, you don't want to go through the complexities of blockchain, you could use this as an intermediary like solution. So World Chess also came up, and we have like partnered with them again, wherein they are using this to do on-chain like loyalty programs, wherein you can do all these loyalty programs. They're using the TAR is the name. So initially the problem was that when people wanted, so even like experts, if they were playing chess on different platforms, so there was no way of them to keep a track of how much points they have, how many streaks they have on different platforms. It was different. So World Chess came up with this idea, and we have integrated with them before as well. And this was a new one that we came. If you want, maybe I can give link for this as well, and maybe like people can check out. Yeah,
That's the same link again.
Okay. Just a second. So yeah, we do have like blogs coming out wherein we talk about whatever happens at Algorand, what new things are coming up, different use cases that people are building on. So everything is there on our site. If people want to explore that, they could also check out this website.
Okay.
Nice.
Cool. Well, I guess that's we're at the end of the hour. We don't want to keep you too long as well, and so that was an interesting kind of overlook. A lot of stuff that you're doing right now. Like when it comes to our audience, like when you talk to people, like what would you like people to do with the stuff that you do? What do you need? Do you need like use cases for blockchain that people haven't thought of? Do you want people to play on Algorand? Do you want people to use it in their own products? What are the biggest things that make you happy that our audience can do for you?
Oh, I think there are many. So as much as people can do, that would be great. But we also want to understand, like we are building tools for them to remove friction so that they can easily build products. They can easily build applications. They can easily, for example, integrate it with their existing solutions. So I would say that if people try out more, they play around more, and even if they don't like something, they come to us and they are like, oh, we don't like this particular thing. And we can improve on that, and that's what like we are looking forward to. And for example, there are many things that are related to AI that people are building, like can it be beneficial with blockchain or not. So for example, there are many DeFi platforms, and Algorand is really good when it comes to scale, when it comes to real world examples. So for example, if you want to make any payments, like over here, you can do that instantly within like 3 seconds, for example, on an average. So it becomes really good for platforms who want to carry out such kind of transactions, even for enterprises if they want to create different applications on us, if they want to use it, for example, at large scales. So it's really interesting to see what people can build and how they can integrate with us.
Excellent. Well, I mean, that's interesting to see. I mean, the enterprise level is an interesting one because I guess a lot of work is behind the scenes that people have not been doing anything outside. Do you feel like that being a foundation makes people approach you more than being a just another commercial company?
I would say so, that being a foundation, it's our duty also, and people do trust us, that we would be able to help them. We also have, for example, we have even accelerator programs for startups, and we also give one-on-one like coaching and a feedback or mentorship to people who want to build with us. So it's not just that okay, you have to come to us and you have to build on your own in silos. As much as we can, we try to help people, and we also have Discord and other channels. We also give like dedicated support to them, so that their journey is as easy as possible.
Cool. Well,
Also,
I mean, sorry.
sorry. I'll talk. I'll talk a lot if you give me chance. But I think we'll sit here throughout the night in that case.
Well,
Yeah.
not to worry. I think there's a lot of resources that people can play with. The links are going to be at the video as well in the description later on. And we're going to be spreading that out in our social platforms as well when we do the social cuts right now, the shorts of these videos. That was WeAreDevelopers Live for today, together with Astha Yadav from the Algorand Foundation. So go out and play at Algorand if you wanna win some stuff and you want to play with it. And in general, you might see me tomorrow in Berlin. If not, you see us next week here again. And it was fun to have you here. Thanks again, Astha, for being part of this. And hopefully now you can go for breakfast in your area or something, like time-wise. What's going on there?
It's nighttime, so it's 8:35 p.m. So it's dinner time for me.
Cool. Then go and have a cocktail or something like that, or enjoy the nice weather outside because it's rubbish here. Well, thanks so much. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye.